Welcome back. In my previous video, I mentioned how we can check using air pressure from the mouth to feel if there's a leak in the clarinet, and how we can use our ears to hear for a slight leak and feel in our mouth the pressure that we're blowing down it and how it stops and doesn't continue. When there's a leak anywhere, we can continue to blow pressure into the clarinet and feel that there's a leak someplace. But as people are padding clarinets, we also have to check for leaks there too. Now, I mentioned I used the Magnehelic machine before, and I also use this Magnehelic machine. I have videos of how to use it. You can check back in the history. But here we're just we used our breath to find out that there is a leak. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use what's called feeler gauge material. I have some feeler gauge material here, and it's really thin strips. See right there? This is 0.0005 of an inch thick, really thin. The thinner feeler gauge you have, the easier it is to actually find leaks. You also have to kind of learn through experience of using and what to feel for. And you can get feeler gauge material like this from Foray Tools. Music Medic I probably has some. Botal Tools, though they only sell to repair shops. I'm sure you can find some stuff on Amazon too. But to use this is actually fairly simple, but you have to really use a light pressure and really feel for what you're doing. So we're going to cover that right now. So we're going to first check, say, this top pad cup right here, the top pad. And what we do is you put the material on different sides of the pad. We don't want to put it all the way through and catch both sides. We just want to check a little corner of the tone hole rim to the pad to make sure it's not pulling out easily. If it pulls out too easily, we know there's a potential air leak right there, and we need to basically float the pad some more. Now, floating a pad is when you set up a clarinet, saxophone, flute, whatever. You have a pad and you have a tone hole. Use this as a tone hole. Many times when you set it up, is the pad won't come straight down onto the tone hole, and you'll have a gap. What we want to do is make sure you don't have a gap. That gap could be in the front, could be in the back, could be on either side. It's just basically the pad isn't flat when it comes down to the tone hole. Now, many times some people will use clamps to set using the tone hole itself to set an indentation into the pad so it seals properly. Now, some people like doing that, others don't. I don't like doing that because what you're doing is you're indenting the pad, and many times if you indent it too much, what will happen is it will stick. You ever have keys that stick? Especially the G sharp key on a sax. And if you get used to using clamps, you then just clamp more and you end up having a deeper indentation. So, but it's better to always make sure a pad seals really well onto the tone hole. But to check it while we're doing things, we'll be using a feeler gauge. But with this example, I'm going to show you some bright paper here. Because before we close the tone hole, we put the paper over just an edge of the tone hole. And then the pad will come down. Now, if the pad is sealing properly all the way around, when we tug in the feeler gauge, it doesn't move very well. If the pad is slightly open in that area, it'll pull right out. So we're feeling for that slight resistance in pulling, because if it pulls right out, we know there's a slight leak right there. Now, as a player, you know, many times you just press down harder in the keys to hopefully close the pad more so it doesn't leak. Of course, that works too, but you know, in clarinet with rings, and you also have to lift the rings then, or you lower the pad, you know, stuff like that. But we're trying to find out where the leak is itself. So let's do a quick example right now. So I got the feeler gauge right here, and we want to put it just Kind of hard because I can't see what I'm doing. Just under the pad. We don't want to put it too far. I'm going to close this. And when I tug on it, it doesn't move. Now I'm also going to put it on the side. Doesn't move. Over on this side. Doesn't move. And on the opposite side. And it doesn't move. So I know that part is working well. Now I want to come down here, this key, put it in here, close it. It actually just slides right out very easily. Put it to the side. It holds that foil quite well. Holds it well. Put in the front, slides right out. So I know in this example that this pad here, and of course we saw earlier, you can see it's damaged, so it's not sealing it at all right there, that this pad is the problem. And then we're going to replace it. We're going to replace it in the next video, just this one pad here. Anyways, that's how to check for where the leak is on a clarinet. Yes, it does take time. You got to check all the pads and every tone hole, every pad on here for that and around it. But it'll teach you more about how to find leaks on a clarinet. One of the skills that you need to do that. Of course, make sure you actually close the tone holes when you blow into it to feel for things. Anyways, I hope you like that. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. And write down in the comments what you think about this technique, if you've ever used it before, and how you experienced it your first time you tried using it. And like I mentioned, I'll put some links down below of where you can buy some feeler gauge from, including Amazon. But there's a quick example of how to check for leaks in a clarinet, whether you're building one up or whether you're checking one after the fact. Hope you like this, and we'll see you later.